This is the Sick'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network. The Sick'em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics. Now, here are your hosts, Katie Smith and the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Sick'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network. John Morris, Katie Smith, and here we are in April, another busy week, great weekend, another busy weekend coming up. This is fun, and we've got just the guy to talk to about especially one of the big events that is coming up.
We do. So much going on, and no one better to talk to us than our assistant AD for communications, Brent Ingram. Brent, we know you're so busy this week with the spring game, men's tennis coming up, just a lot going on. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Very good. He was kidding us. He said he couldn't sleep last night because he was doing the podcast. Now, that was probably because, hopefully, more for your daughter than for us, right? We didn't keep you awake last night.
Well, she's a pretty good sleeper, yeah.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah,
Harper Jo is
blessed
perfect.
Yeah.
She's the
good.
queen.
Yeah.
Well, I hope maybe it was the anticipation of being on with us.
The excitement, the joy.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Something we've never heard from any of our guests.
Shoot.
But we're glad you're with us, and we're glad you're with us here at Baylor. Relatively new, been here a little over a year, and or when is the anniversary?
First day of football camp, so August 5th was my first day.
Okay,
yeah.
very good. So fast and furious, nothing like getting here and jumping in with both feet, right?
Yeah, it was real special to go right into it. You know, I think August 4th, I was working football camp at UTSA.
Wow.
And August 5th, I was here. So
Wow.
it was a quick transition, and
Yeah.
was able to just get it going.
Tell us a little bit about that process. Who kind of reached out from Baylor? Who did you talk to? Was Baylor always on the horizon? Go into that a little bit.
Yeah, my wife, Courtney, and I had always kind of, earmarked some places that would be very interesting to us if the job ever came open. And when we saw that Baylor was open, it was maybe early July, and there was an immediate excitement about that. And so I was able to connect with DK, who I knew a little bit. We interacted a little bit and kind of knew each other's reputations, and so was able to kind of visit with him and learn about the role and his vision for the role and Javon's vision for the role, and it was just really a natural fit. Felt like a great place for me. Felt like a great place for the family.
Yeah, I love that. I'm like, get DK and Jovan on the phone with anyone, and I feel like
they
convince people to come to Baylor.
For
It's
sure.
amazing.
Special people.
Great people that belong here.
That's good. You've been in the field, athletic communications, a long time. It's interesting in the connections, the ties, who you know that maybe knows DK or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot like coaching,
Yeah.
And, I'd say everybody's little industry in athletics is very similar to that, in that you kind of know when someone moves here, when someone moves there, and you kind of have a feel for their reputation in the industry, and so it's a little family for sure.
Yeah, very fun. So you were at UTSA before Baylor, UT Arlington before that, and here we go. Let's talk about Lexington, Kentucky.
These Kentucky boys
There
are just going to run away.
Katie, just sit over there and let us talk
Katie
some
is signing
bluegrass.
off now.
But you were you graduated from the University of Kentucky, worked there for 12 years. I'm sure that was a great experience for you.
Yeah, it really was. I grew up in Lexington. I was born in Gainesville, Florida, but I moved to Lexington when I was 7. So kind of claim Lexington as my hometown. Family was there. Sister went to UK. Brother-in-law played football there. So Kentucky is absolutely in our blood. Just a wonderful opportunity to work in the office as an undergraduate student and kind of transition into a full-time role there once I graduated. And love Kentucky. Great place. What a blessing to have been there.
Yeah. So 12 years, right? And so that's kind of where family was, where everyone was, and then this draw to Texas. I feel like that was a big jump. What kind of made you and Courtney do that? Were y'all married at the time?
We were not. No,
okay.
No. God knew that I'd find my wife in Texas.
I love that. I knew I liked Courtney. She's a Texas
Same
girl.
here, yeah.
For sure. No, I spent 12 years working with baseball, football, a little bit of soccer, a little bit of rifle at Kentucky.
I mean, we can't just go past that. Rifle.
Yeah.
What is the biggest takeaway from working with a rifle?
There's a lot. I had a coach who's still there who was a legendary figure in the sport, probably a lot like Fee is considered in A&T, just kind of key figure in terms of growing the sport.
Yeah.
So wonderful opportunity to work with rifle. Love the coach, love the kids. They're so thankful for anything you give them.
Yeah.
And so that was noticeable. And the coach was just, Harry Mullins, just a really special guy. He was a good mentor to me besides teaching me what rifle is like, but also, as I was a young professional in the job.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, continue on your thought. I just can't hear the word rifle and not let you talk about it.
Yeah, we can break that down later, Katie, for sure. It's a fascinating sport. It's co-ed at Kentucky, which is an interesting
Might have
element
missed
to
my
it.
window, though, you know?
Yeah, and they say the female athletes are sometimes better, largely better than the male athletes, which is an interesting dynamic. But no, opportunity to move to Texas was just something I'd always kind of wanted to see things outside of the SEC.
Yeah.
2 years at UT Arlington was very eye-opening to me to go from a Power 5 conference with all the resources in the world to a Sun Belt school that didn't have football. And so that means that financial is going to be a big concern.
Yeah.
And so it was really. I say it kind of furthered my love for the collegiate sports model because you go from the SEC where everybody thinks they're going to be a professional athlete, and going to graduate early and go into Major League Baseball or go play football professionally, and then you go to the Sun Belt where that's not the approach for a lot of the student athletes' mindsets, and so that was really it kind of furthered that passion for me in terms of loving. What collegiate sports means to people. And you can see it from different levels. And so seeing it at that level really, was eye-opening to me and very encouraging to me to see it like that. Got to work with Darren Thomas, who is our director of ops here. He was our head coach at UT Arlington, and just loved working with him. I loved working with him and his student athletes and his staff. Just a really good group of people, and it was a good transition for me into Texas to spend a couple years in Arlington and work with DT.
Very good. Rifle is one sport I've never done, never
What?
broadcast. Yeah, so
man.
I don't even know what a competition looks like.
I bet you'd figure it out.
Yeah,
targets?
they're long. They're long, John.
Are they?
How many hours are we talking?
You're there for probably 4 or 5 hours.
Oh, my.
man.
It's like a track meet.
There's no shot clock or pitch clock involved.
Yeah, there's
rifle?
two different. There's an air rifle and then there's a small bore.
Okay.
And so
Did you say small bore?
Small
yes,
bore.
Oh, I was
yes.
picturing a little pig when he said that.
Of course you are.
Of course I was.
And, there's different stances in each. In air rifle is pretty much standing, and then small bore you're shooting prone, you're shooting kneeling, you're shooting standing, and so it's really fascinating. I used to love bringing media members there and letting them shoot.
Oh, wow.
It was in a range. I don't know what their facility looks like now, but it was in a range in the basement of the ROTC building.
Wow.
That was an older building, but it's always cool to bring in, people and let them shoot and try their hand at it because you're shooting at something basically the size of a dime.
Good grief. Really?
So
how far away? What's the distance?
I couldn't break it down for you, JMO. But,
far.
It's not crazy.
Right.
But I mean, it's the difference in terms of what is a great score and a score that's not as great is so small.
Yeah.
Because you're shooting at a dime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great. Rifle Talk.
Rifle talk.
On the Sikkim podcast.
Yeah.
Do you feel like taking on a sport like that maybe it's not the baseball, football that people are so used to? Do you feel like there's a lot of professional development that comes when you're experiencing something like that where it's, oh, wow, you're writing articles, you're covering this team that you really kind of have to teach people about the sport when you're covering it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's, sometimes those sport assignments are really a great fit for the new professionals in our industry.
Yeah.
Because you can really sink your teeth into it and really invest in it and get to know your coaches and your kids, and it kind of prepares you for the next step as you kind of continue to grow in the profession. But rifle was that for me. Soccer was that for me.
Yeah.
We had men's soccer at Kentucky, which not a lot of schools have. And I was, at that stage in my career, I was traveling with them everywhere, and so got to, we were in Conference USA because SEC doesn't have men's soccer. So got to see all kinds of different areas of the country that I wouldn't traditionally see, being kind of in the SEC silo. So I think those sports are so important for a young professional in our industry to really invest and care about, and that helps you as you progress for sure.
Yeah, very cool.
That had been fun for you to graduate from UK and work there as a student and then go right into working there full-time at your alma mater.
Yeah, I toward the end of my undergraduate career, I was a student volunteering, just happy to be there, whatever I could do to get involved. And as I transitioned from my undergraduate degree, I moved into the internship role. Mm-hmm. And I was an intern doing baseball in the SEC. I was the only one, not full-time. We had just won the SEC.
Wow.
So it was a lot of excitement going around college baseball at the time. And I had number 3 football. It was the number 3 football contact. And then I had rifle and soccer. So that was that first year being an intern, just really a wonderful opportunity for me to work at my alma mater. Furthered my love for the profession, just really loved working with college baseball. I didn't anticipate being a college baseball guy when I first started, and 12 years later, I was just really invested in the sport and really loved it. And so that first year was, I was 22, 23 years old and willing to do anything I could to help. I vividly remember our coach was John Cohen at the time, who's just a real special guy in college athletics. He's the Auburn AD now, and later went to Mississippi State. And I remember him. He was the kind of guy that would start his day every day with a phone call to the SID. So you get the phone call at 7 a.m. and he's on the treadmill going through the day.
Sounds nice.
He was wonderful for me in terms of learning what detail-oriented coach expects from your SID. Wow. And so I vividly remember I'm 22 years old. It's February. We're hosting Purdue for a weekend series, and he calls me at 7 a.m. Brent, do you have a snow shovel? I'm like, yeah, Coach, I think I do. We could use you at the field right now.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh,
and so that's the kind of thing that, when you're 22 years old, you just don't realize that, you can say no sometimes.
Right.
But
I don't have a snow shovel.
Realize that. And so I was just so happy to be a part of the program and help however I could. And so that was just really important for me in terms of learning the profession and learning, my role and how it's not just on paper, the communication is the publicist guy. There's other things that you can do.
Yeah. Nice. You mentioned not knowing you were going to be this baseball guy. What did Brent Ingram at 21, 22, what was the dream job for you?
Well, let me go back to high school, Katie. Oh, yeah. I was a big horse guy. As a high school, 14 to 18, we would go somewhere and ride horses every weekend.
As guys from Kentucky do.
That's
Lexington.
Right.
There you go.
That's right.
Lots of horses around.
Yeah, horse country of the world. And so going into my senior year, I thought, okay, I want to be an equine vet.
Oh,
wow. And so cool. I did one of those experience-based career educations, what we called it, where you go to a different job site, and spend a few months and learn what you want to do. And so my first job site, my senior year of high school, was the world's most renowned equine hospital.
Wow.
And so I go there thinking, this is what I want to do. I love horses. This is my passion. And it was way too much science for me.
Oh, I get that.
And so my next stop was the Kentucky High School Athletic Association, which is our version of UIL. And, it was about the time we were hosting the boys' Sweet 16, girls' Sweet 16 in basketball, which JMO can tell you is just a huge deal.
Huge.
They're going to put 24,000 people in Rupp Arena for every basketball game. I mean,
for high school.
It's a big deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so that was my next stop, and boom, that was it. You realize pretty quickly. Okay, well, I love sports. This is what I want to do. I was a very bad high school football player.
No, we don't believe it.
So this was a way to stay a part of a team and to stay connected to sports. And boom, it was like it hit me over the head. This is it.
Wow.
And then my next stop as a high school intern, 17 years old, was Kentucky's Media Relations office.
Cool.
And so, fell right into it. I remember I would go in the archive room, this back archive room, and just spend hours looking through files, old pictures, and, just really fell in love with the profession then. I can remember my senior project for that class, I redid a Kentucky football media guide.
Wow.
I wrote my own media guide, and so it was from that moment really when I went to the KHSA. That was really my first. Okay, this is it. This is what you want to do.
Yeah. Do you still have that media guide?
I don't. I'd love to find it. Yeah.
It's in a museum somewhere.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's in the archives.
Yeah, I'd love to find it. No, I'd take the red pen to it now and
critique yourself.
Yeah.
I'm picturing young, fresh-faced Brent Ingram writing his own media guide. That's great.
Nice picture.
Yeah,
High school.
for sure.
What high school did you go to?
Dunbar.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
which
good.
was a fairly new high school when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful place.
Very good. God's country, Lexington.
That's right.
30 miles from Danville.
Yeah.
Titletown, USA. So
Titletown.
loved growing up in Kentucky. So part of your baseball work there led to working with USA Baseball. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, boy, what a wonderful opportunity that was. It was the 2015 Collegiate National Team.
Wow.
And my head coach at Kentucky, Gary Henderson, who's now the head coach at Utah, he was our pitching coach for Team USA that summer. And so we basically, I moved to Cary with the team, Cary, North Carolina, and we spent the whole summer there.
Wow.
In some ways it was wonderful to be in one location, but every other year USA Baseball basically will go to Japan or go to Cuba.
Yeah.
And this year they came to us that year that I was in 2015. So it was nice to just set up shop at the Embassy Suites in Cary for a summer.
Yeah.
But what a wonderful opportunity that was
Yeah.
to be around just the best of the best in college baseball, and some elite memories that I'll never forget. We threw a no-hitter against Cuba.
Wow.
On July 2nd or 3rd, we went to Charlotte and played in their gorgeous AAA park and hosted Cuba on July 4th, and the place has been sold out for months.
Wow.
And just several pinch me moments from that experience. It was a really cool deal. I can't wait till Max one day can do that from our office and go do USA Baseball.
He would eat that up.
He
He
really
would.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to find the right time for him to do that for sure.
That's great. Were there some guys on that team? I mean, you're with them all summer. You're with them all the time. Some guys that we'd know their names now still playing?
Yeah, looking back, it's not as, every year you're going to see a ton of big leaguers, but that roster wasn't quite as deep. There were obviously some, Bobby Dahlbeck, AJ Puck, some guys that are everyday big leaguers now. So it was a good group. The coaches were really special. We had Paul Maneri was our hitting coach, who was the longtime LSU coach. Rich Hill was on our staff as well, and he's was at San Diego at the time. I think he's at Hawaii now. Just big energy guy. And Gary was our pitching coach, and Gary is very much a professor type mindset. Yeah. So it was interesting to see how he meshed with all those people. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful summer for sure.
Great experience. That's great. Brent Ingram, our guest, Baylor Assistant AD for Communications. He's head of our athletic communications staff here, also a sport administrator, and we'll talk about that role. But glad to have Brent with us on the Sikkim Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network. I've had the privilege of calling games, telling stories about Baylor athletics for a long time. Storytelling is an art, and there's a network in town doing just that. Rogue Media Network has produced over 80 original podcasts and shows ranging from comedy, true crime, business, and, yes, sports. If there's a story to tell, Rogue Media Network is telling it. You can find this podcast and all the other great Rogue Media Network shows on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Brent, love getting to hear so much about your background, love getting to work with you, but tell us a little bit about you wear a lot of hats here at Baylor, and I always say you kind of notice the people who just show up and do things well when they just keep getting responsibility thrown at them, and Brent Ingram always comes to mind. And so this year you have taken over men's tennis primary sport program administrator. So haven't worked with men's tennis a ton in the past, but tell us about what that experience has looked like for you.
Yeah, what a blessing that is. I'm honored to be in that role. I remember meeting with the team early in the season and telling them that's the greatest honor of my career to lead this program. And it really is. Can't say enough thank yous to Mac and Javon and Michael Woodson for entrusting me with that responsibility, because it's large, and I really am thankful for it. In a short amount of time, I've grown to love men's tennis, and tennis in general. What a great sport that is. What a special sport on this campus it is. We have high expectations for that program, and to be able to work with them every day is quite the honor. Michael Woodson is a special head coach. Mm-hmm. He is as detail-oriented as anybody I've ever been around.
Yeah.
So, spending time with him every day, and we do spend time every day together, whether it's on the phone or visiting in person, is making me better as an administrator. He has such a standard for what he wants this program to be, and it's a lot of fun to see it executed every day. And then the student athletes are just a great group, and they really uphold that Baylor standard the way we want it to be. And so it's quite the honor to work with them every day.
Yeah.
That is great. So we are through the regular season, just ended really last week, heading into the postseason coming up this week. What does that look like from your perspective as the sport administrator?
Yeah, for sure. We'll go up to Lawrence this week and prepare for the Big 12 championships. And it's a 3-day event, so we'd love to be playing on Sunday in the championship match, which would be at 1 o'clock. And so, this program is coming off, won it last year. Just really high standards. We expect to compete for championships every year, and so we'll go up there with that in mind, trying to compete for a championship.
Great.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier on when we were talking about starting out in communications and the coach calling you and saying, "Oh, do you have a snow shovel?" and just kind of the relationships that come from being an SID. Do you feel that kind of being newer to the sport program administrator role that's helped you? Just the availability, having that quick relationship with Coach Woodson?
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes it's hard when people sit you down and say, "So what exactly is a sports information director? What does the communications guy do?" And so, if you are in the silo and this is the only things you do, you're probably not great at it. So you've got to be able to do all the other things that come with finding ways to help your programs. And so I'd like to think that helps in some ways in terms of moving into an administrative role and helping lead a program like men's tennis, because you just got to find a way to get involved and find a way to help. And Michael's moving a mile a minute. He's got all kinds of things on his mind. He's never going to stop fighting for his kids and his program, and that's what makes him so special. And so I'd like to think that I'm an administrator who can try to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And just find ways to support him and find ways, hey, what can I be doing to help you in this scenario? Because he's very dialed into every aspect of his program, and so maybe there's some things I can take off his plate that help him with the day-to-day.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Well, at the same time, you're the main contact for Baylor football, and spring football is going on right now. You've been really good making available our coaches, assistant coaches, and student athletes to the media here through the spring, and we've got the spring game this Saturday, the 22nd.
Yeah, our spring media availability, I would put up against anybody.
Yeah.
We have a ton of availability. Each of our assistant coaches speak. We've had each position group do interviews, and so it's been really enjoyable to see each of those groups talk and each of those assistant coaches talk, because once we're in the fall season, we're very driven on what's next, and we're very routine oriented, and so we don't do as much because we're focused on the wins and the losses and how to get better every day. And so the spring has been really enjoyable to kind of open that up a little more. And we've got some open periods of practice where the media can shoot and kind of see some of the day-to-day of our football program. And so that's been it's been great to kind of open the doors a little bit.
And you work very closely with Coach Aranda, obviously, closer than Katie and I would.
Yeah.
What a great experience that is, huh?
Yeah, he's really special.
Yeah.
He's really special.
Yeah.
It doesn't take you very long. You all know that,
right?
Yeah.
From interacting with him to realize how special he is. He is, probably the most unique man in college football now.
Yeah.
And his approach for leading a program is just really unique. Every football building you go to, and you all know this, there's, words on a wall, things that matter to the program. And so often those are just words on a wall. And here, the person over player is absolutely not just signage. He lives that every day, and, that permeates every aspect of the program, and that he is genuinely more concerned about developing the people, the student athletes, the coaches, the support staff as people than he is as a player. And that will come. The success on the field comes from having the right people and building them the right way. And so that's been a lot of fun to see, his approach with the program and just blessed to be a part of it.
Very cool.
Have you noticed that in your interactions with media that they kind of pick up on this too, right? Like we've all seen this kind of special coach that Dave Aranda is. Have you been able to get that feedback?
Yeah, for sure, Katie. I think, you all have all heard it. JMO's lived it. It's the coach speak, we're just focused on New England or whatever it is, you're never going to get that from Dave.
Yeah.
He is very thoughtful in his responses. He's very transparent, which is a wonderful thing from a publicist to have a coach that's that transparent. And he just really genuinely cares about people, and that shows in everything he does, and it shows in the interviews. He cares about answering the question in the most respectful way that he can, and I think that shows in everything he does, and especially in the media.
Yeah, he's so honest. It's funny. We're doing the coaches show one night at Rudy's, and one of the sponsors is Old Trapper Beef Jerky. Were you there that night?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And do you remember this?
I don't think I remember this one.
So we're doing a promo for Old Trapper Beef Jerky, and it's sitting up there on stage and everything. I say, Dave, you like beef jerky? And he just kind of puts his head down and says, no.
He's like, I'm not going to lie to you, Jay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the classic example of how honest he is,
Yeah,
and
how funny.
Gosh, that is so great, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great to deal with him, work with him, and I know you do that on a daily basis.
Yeah, he can't tell a lie.
No, he cannot.
Even for the
That's
sake of a
great.
sponsor.
That's right. Even for a sponsor. That's true.
It's refreshing, though. I think probably in your position, not necessarily the people you've worked with, but just kind of seeing the publicist side of coaches everywhere. You probably see a lot of different things where it's, the coach speak. This is what I'm going to say. This is what was scripted for me, and I love that experience you get with him, that you're going to get exactly what he's thinking.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's going to be transparent. He's going to try to answer the questions in the most thoughtful way possible. And so often he responds with a question with, boy, thank you for that question.
Yeah.
And I think he genuinely thanks you for that question.
Yeah.
He just
I love that.
he really cares about everything, and answering your question in the right way is just another way he's going to care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here it is.
I appreciate that question.
Yeah, Dave is great. So the spring game is this Saturday, the 22nd. A lot going on this weekend. We mentioned that right at the top. An alumni barbecue is taking place. Excess equipment sale. A lot of folks like that on Saturday morning. Michael Johnson Invitational is taking place Friday and Saturday at the Clyde Hart Track and Field Stadium. Baylor softball, big series against Oklahoma here. So this is a huge – and the spring game is Saturday at noon at McLean Stadium. Free, right? Free and open to the public.
It is, yeah. Parking's free. Yeah, love to have everybody there.
That's
Check out the Bears and get ready for August, September.
Come on.
Yeah.
And looking ahead, what a schedule this year. 8 home games.
Yeah,
8 home games.
That's
September.
great.
First time ever.
Yeah, and 4 straight to get going.
Yeah, right.
And, in that mix, you've got Texas and you got Utah, two teams that you would imagine would be a pretty stiff test. So, great schedule. We're looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing McLean packed every Saturday.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Is that the additional teams in the Big 12 is from a communications perspective? Is that exciting to you? More stories to tell? What does that kind of impact you and your team?
I think so. You get so relationship building with the Big 12 SIDs because you spend so much time with them.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to getting to know those new people. We've gotten to know BYU a little bit over the last few years, and from some of my previous experience, gotten to know some of the other SIDs. So it'll be nice to welcome them into the family and kind of join forces with them in promoting what a great conference we're in.
Yeah.
Fun. Our staff here, your athletic communications staff, I'm sure they'll listen to this to critique us. Okay, so
Sure.
let's mention them, and what a great staff we have here.
Yeah, JMO, you're right. It's what a blessing this group is. Javon, Mac, DK, the team that they've assembled here is just really special. It's you could say it's the world's best communication staff and just think you're placating to it, but that's not. This is the world's best communication staff. I'm so honored to get to lead them. They are so special. We can go down the roster. Our basketball SIDs, Matt and Shelby, are just really great. They fit the program needs so well. Matt is somebody who came from TV side of things, so it's always hard to make a career transition midway through your adult life, and he's just knocked it out of the park. And what a blessing for him to have DK, right next to him as the primary sport administrator for men's basketball. And he just approaches everything with such a learning mindset. He wants to get better at everything he does. Shelby came to us right before the season from A&M, and she's just really, really special fit for that program. This is a women's basketball program that expects to win. And she fits that really well, and she cares so much about people. She's just, the whole group, they're just wonderful Baylor people. And, Shelby fits that well. Our baseball, softball SIDs are right in the thick of the 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks right now. And that's Katie with softball and Max with baseball. And they just care so much about those programs, and they do such a great job for those programs. And it can be a really rugged life, especially at this stage of the year in late April and early May. And they just approach it with such a passion, and they have just elite social skills and personal skills that so often you don't see in the sports publicists in college athletics. And so they stand out for just how special they are interacting with their coaches and their student athletes. And Colin is our more youthful staff member, and he is our men's tennis SID. And boy, what a blessing he's been to me to have him, right there next to me throughout this, the men's tennis transition. Seeing him grow every day is really, really special. And then we've got Madeline, who's our A&T SID and our volleyball SID, and so she's got programs that really matter, and she crushes those. And hey, let's not even throw in the fact that she's the webmaster. Yeah. And so coordinates BaylorBears.com, and that in a previous life is a full-time job. Yeah. And so in a lot of ways, she's got 2 full-time jobs there. So just a really special group. Really blessed to be a part of it. Blessed to lead them, and I hope that I can stay out of their way or help them whenever I need to.
Yeah, I'd include Jerry Hill in this group also.
Yeah. For sure.
Not a sport per se, but all sports really.
Yeah. Yeah. What a great mentor Jerry is for me. He brings such a great institutional knowledge of Baylor. And he's, director of sports journalism, and he takes that title very serious. And with the staff that we have, which is a fairly young staff, he is just such a wonderful influence on them in terms of helping their writing ability, and kind of being a resource for them. And, I always dreamed of being a department head at a place that had a Jerry Hill. And so being able to be here and have Jerry, involved in our website and our program and our department is just really an honor. And then, let's talk about John Morris.
Who's he?
My goodness, what a legend that is.
I know.
Stop.
Having you, JMO, in this department is another great honor. And I hope I can lead you the right way and point you in the right directions and help you whenever you need to, because you are just the face of this university to so many people, and you take that so seriously, and it's a great honor that this university has you in this role.
Well, very nice. It's a great group that we're a part of, so really cool. Well, one other question that I thought of was kind of a left turn here, but your dad is a doctor. What?
Yeah, he's a professor.
Okay.
He was the longtime horticulture, landscape architecture professor at Kentucky.
Landscape architecture.
Yeah, he's
just for my yard.
You and me both. He's coming in a month, and I could not be more embarrassed by the winter weeds.
Shoot, I didn't even think about
Let's line up some visits.
Oh, goodness, I would love it.
It's been an interesting transition for him because the Texas environment, as far as grass growing and plants and everything, is not something he knows a ton about.
Sure.
So he's been eager to learn things, and I can't wait for him to get here in a month and take a look at what's wrong with my yard
and learn from your mistakes
and help me fix it. Because
that'll be fun.
We've always had perfect yards in the Ingram family, and I'm dropping the ball.
It's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Different state, different conditions.
Yes.
And then we mentioned Courtney, your wife, and your daughter Harper Jo. Everybody's doing well?
They're doing great. You know, we talk all the time about how this transition to Baylor and Waco has been just such a God thing. Everything just slid into place, whether it's Harper finding the best daycare in town. Shout out to Primrose.
There we go.
That is a good daycare.
You know, and then Courtney finding a job that she just loves. You know, she's at the Region 12 Education Service Center.
Oh, yeah.
And so she supports coaches and elementary administrators, and high school, middle school administrators, and just loves it. It could not have been a better transition for her into that role. And so just a God thing, the way everything's worked out. We're in Robinson and just love that community already. And, just really, really blessed to be here and the way everything's worked out.
Wow. Yeah. We'd say the same about you, being a part of Baylor Athletics. So thanks for sharing with us, and we're glad you're here in this role, and we appreciate you being on.
Yeah. Thank you, J-Mo.
Thank you.
You're the best.
Have you been looking for a new podcast to listen to? Are you interested in true crime, funny one-star reviews, or inspiring stories? What about the history of Waco or the famous people who have lived and worked here? All these and more are produced by Rogue Media Network. There are over 80 different shows, including this one, with more coming all the time. If there's a story to tell, Rogue Media Network is telling it. Watch on YouTube or listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, a lot of fun visiting with Brent from the Bluegrass State to Texas. Isn't this great, having him a part of Baylor Athletics?
It is great. Tied for my favorite Baylor Athletics employee from Kentucky. How about that? Oh, okay, man, that's where I like to do it.
Fun to be with Brent. We appreciate that, and I hope everybody has a great week. We'll be back with you next week. For Katie and Brent, I'm John, and that's this week's Sick'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network.
You've been listening to the Sick'em Podcast, powered by Rogue Media Network. The Sick'em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics.